I've always, for a long time since I lived in Hamilton, listened to Tory Lanez because he's from Toronto. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Drake, you know. I started to like his music after a while, you know. I started to like, you know, how he was kind of resilient too, because people were hating on him so much, right? So this is one of the. My name is Cory Resilient. That's what I go by. Basically, I came up with that name like about 3 years ago. It started because like I was making music. I'm mostly known as Sincere Muzic. That's what I've always had, that alias, that name. And then this was the spot right here. You know, I had a big tent. I was in a tent in Beacon Hill Park. I got a tent. I got like a blow-up mattress. I got like 20 pillows. Took a cab from Value Village with all my stuff to Beacon Hill Park with all this like ballin' ass. Like, if you're gonna be homeless in a tent, trust me, I'm gonna do it the best way possible. I had music that was doing really good, and I was advertising like some of my music videos and stuff like that. And so I felt like I was doing good and I was building something, and then boom, I lost that. So then I was upset about that. So I started a YouTube channel, and I was going through, you know, homelessness and stuff like that, and I was experiencing like systematic corruption, and like I kind of just broke down, and I had this like idea, like in my head, it was like, you know, don't give up, you know what I mean, type thing, be resilient. And then I was like, oh, you know, Cory Resilient. I was like, yeah, I'm resilient, you know, I'm not gonna give up type thing, right? I just kind of took on the name, and I was like, you know, it's like a lifestyle now where, you know, it's just to be resilient, really, you know.
I agree, there's something that I need. Before I leave this earth, there's something I gotta see. Things that I never did.
When I made that song, you know, I was going to jail and stuff like that. I was going through a lot of, you know, dark times in my life. You know, I just went harder with the music. That was a lot of pain to go through, you know. So instead of like, you know, doing whatever, like, you know, I went to the music. That's what I like about it, is that there is a way to either let something destroy you or build you up, right? And I enjoy that process of, even if I take loss or go through hard times, that I have that ability to do that. And that's my piece, you know, is the music.
Rest in peace, Douglas Wiegand.
Growing up, mostly like from when I was young, like an infant, up until I was like 14, he was mostly in jail. And then, you know, in the times that he was there, it was just like him and my mom. They drank a lot, like alcoholics and stuff like that, and they would fight a lot. So they went their separate ways. He went to jail for like, I think like almost 10 years for an armed robbery or something like that. And got out not too close to when I was 14, and then I ran away from my mom's because that was like an abusive like setting, and I ran away and I moved in with my dad, and everything was okay for a bit, but he started doing drugs again, and he started drinking again.
Had a dream that I would make it as a rapper and show every human being all the lies the world hides, and let Jesus in.
He started actually getting me to sell drugs when I was like 14, 15 years old, around that time. And you know, I grew up around that kind of a lifestyle of people that were selling drugs and like gang members and stuff, and they were you know, so that's what I remember of my life with my dad. It was pretty dark. And then he went to jail for 3 years for something that me and him actually did. We did a crime together, but he said I wasn't involved, and I got away, and he went to jail for 3 years. And then got out when I was like 18 or something, and that's when I went to jail, and then he passed away.
About to blow up from this music thing. I'll do this for my dad, I know he would be proud of me. But please don't cry, mom, I need you all around me. See, without you guys, there would never even be a me. I wonder how.
So that's kind of how that all went down. It was all pretty ugly all the way through. And then he passed away, so it was just the nail in the coffin almost, you know. It was just like, I don't know how I'm gonna live, you know, through this. So, you know, but that's a lot to do with who I am now, you know what I mean, and why the whole time that I was going through homelessness, that I didn't give in to drugs, and I didn't give in to like temptations and get involved. And I never went back to crime because I went to jail and my dad died and I missed the funeral, and that changed my life, right? So I was like, I'm not gonna do that to myself ever again, you know? I just keep pushing, you know, and it makes me wanna live a sober life and live a healthy life, you know, and just stay away from any influences like that. that's kind of how I ended up becoming homeless as well, is because that's the only life I knew since I was a kid, because my dad had me doing that, selling drugs, and that's the only way I knew how to survive. And I already had a criminal record, pretty extensive, you know, as a youth, so I couldn't get a job really. Yeah, so I became poor, you know what I mean, when I stopped selling drugs basically, and I couldn't function as a normal person and hold a job or get a job, and then there was the trauma and emotional damage that was done that I didn't know how to deal with yet. That's kind of what all that did to me. It was actually made me stronger and resistant to those things in life, you know, because I seen the damage firsthand, right? So, and that's in my music too. That's in the story, you know, and you know, yeah, so.
Late nights in Victoria, drinking by myself. Take a walk to Beacon Hill and I was thinking to myself, I came a long way, 100 miles from my home, so excuse me if I say that I'm depressed.
Yeah, so when I first came out here, I started off with nothing, and I had to start from the bottom and work my way up, and I was going to the shelters and stuff like that, like the Salvation Army, and I just realized it wasn't like an environment that I could maintain myself in, you know. So I never would ever consider going in a tent and living out of a tent. Like, that was like the farthest thing from my reality. I'm like, I would never do that. But I was in such a nice place where it was like warm all year, until bylaw started throwing out my tent and stuff like that with all of my stuff in it, and then I had like to restart like every other day. I would use the little bits of money that I do have to do normal things, like, you know what I mean, like go for coffee to a cafe and like bring my laptop and like, you know, go to a restaurant and have a drink and some wings or like something, and I would do that all the time instead of dwelling in the street, you know. But then when I come back, boom, my tent's gone, all my stuff's thrown out, and so it was defeating, and you just started to deteriorate like that. I realized that, you know, there's corruption, really systematic corruption within the system that's really holding homelessness back from evolving out of it, you know what I mean? It was the trauma first, you know, and that hit me like a ton of bricks. I wasn't emotionally ready for that, for all of that pain to catch up to me when I'm trying to maintain and work a full-time job and, you know, pay bills.
I could turn this shit into a positive. I've always been resilient, that's just obvious, so I'ma keep it moving for the movement in the audience.
And then I broke down, you know, emotionally, and I wasn't prepared for that, and it costed me to lose my job. It costed me to fall back to homelessness. And then once I was there, it was like the stigma that was against me, you know, landlord stigma, renting stigma, like employment stigma. People wouldn't employ me, people wouldn't rent to me if they knew I was homeless or if I had a criminal record, and how could one ever progress out of a state like that if that was the case? Like, the system is literally built in a way that somebody that falls down through the cracks can't get back up through the cracks. Like, it's designed that way. A lot with more of the stigma was, you know, the hatred from society. Like, I'm just a person trying to survive and get out of these circumstances, and all of a sudden people are, you know, yelling at me out of their car, "Get a job, you bum," and like, "You junkie," and I'm like, "I don't even do drugs," and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to get on my feet. I don't have family, I don't have parents, I don't have people to take care of me if I hit rock bottom. There's nobody there. So my reality is I go back to a shelter, so there was no way out, you know, and I think that's a major problem, because somebody should be able to have the opportunity and the ability to get out of those circumstances, and there should be no burdening coming from the system or society. There's holes in the system that need to be fixed, and if they're not, then it's going to continue to contribute to homelessness and addiction, and it's going to create new users, it's going to create more homelessness. It's not going to solve the problem, and it's going to exhaust more funding unnecessarily, you know. And that's what I'm trying to do right now with the Existence Project, is like, I can see ways that things could work, and at least join me into the conversation so we can have that discussion and see if it can work, and let's just go through it together, you know, the person that's in office and the person that's off the street. That's never been done before, and now that's happening with the Existence Project. So
yeah, wonder how I made it. Everybody else didn't make it, yeah, so I wonder how I made it. Every day getting faded, yeah.
I'm lucky that I made it out, you know, like fully not mangled, you know what I'm saying? I'm still a little bit put together, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I wonder how I made it. That's what that was about. I've been off the street for like 8 months now, and you know, everything's changed pretty fast. See, it's a recovery house though, and I wasn't really going through addiction or alcoholism, you know, so it was more like I'm just trying to break the cycle of homelessness, and I would always go there off and on since I came to Victoria for those resources to maintain myself while I was going through homelessness. And so then they ended up offering me like to be a part of the residential program. I wasn't fighting an addiction, so I didn't feel like I should take up that space in a place where somebody else might need it, that what its purpose is for. But they basically gave me an opportunity to get off the street and live there, and they were gonna help me get on my feet, you know. So, and that's what they did, you know. And so I got in there, and I've been there for like 8 months, and that's where I met Marco from the Existence Project, and then started doing that work and told my story. And then it led to me getting like employed to the Existence Project, and then doing more workshops around, you know, my lived experience with homelessness, and trying to remove some of the stigma around that, and being a public speaker for the organization. So yeah, and it's been going really well. Like, things are actually going good now in my life. You know, I'm starting to add on to my life and build, and I've had stability for a while now, and I don't see that going away. Like, I see more of it coming, you know. But I really wanted to re-embed myself into the community and society, and have some type of meaning and like purpose in what I'm doing with my life, you know. And it just kind of just happened, just fell in my lap, you know. And then it felt like a responsibility, so I've been just going with it. And I think things are going well, you know, with me living there, and you know, things are just going up from here, really, you know. Just kind of turned into a responsibility, really, just naturally. Like, I couldn't walk away from that and just, you know, not add my experience with what I've been through. You know, I experienced an injustice going through homelessness, and realizing that there's some flaws in the system that are actually contributing to homelessness and addiction, and they're actually burdening our ability to progress out of homelessness. I'm just a normal person that went through a series of traumatic events in my life that just took me out of the game. I would see, you know, me kind of doing music again, you know, being into the music, doing music videos, making music, you know, living life a little bit, you know what I'm saying, having some fun a little bit, you know, haven't had fun in a long time, you know. So in the next year, I think, you know, there'll be a lot more things going on in my life, you know, more, yeah, just more people in my life too, more connected, and getting my license, because I only have my learners, so I'm like, that's embarrassing too, but I have to tell the truth, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I only have my learners, and like, I'm gonna do driving school soon. What up? I just wrote this. Sincere Muzic, aka Cory Resilient. On iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Store, just search Sincere Muzic. Music with a Z. Cory Resilient on YouTube, let's go. More freedom, more stability, just good people in my life, and yeah, just a healthy life, you know, healthy lifestyle. The spaceship, I'm so resilient, the feeling's amazing. They still mad cause I'm constantly blazing. They want me to stress, but I'm highly evasive. They'll be around when I finally make it. I don't know why all these people try and hate now. That's not in my DNA, we can't relate now. I've been on a different road, it's looking straight now. But I've been standing on the edge and looking straight down. Yeah, I already know. Think I've been there before. You don't know darkness, believe me, I seen it, I did it, I came from below. If you could feel all of my pain, then all your pain would go. If you were just a little kid and had no place to go, I was only trying to live and trying to find a home. Don't do drugs and I don't drink like I did before. Just a youngin' in the city trying to stay afloat. They didn't know that I'm the realest, yeah, and now they know. Funny, isn't it, what I would've done different? Couldn't picture this image, gotta go get it, now I'm winning,
seems a pussy can't claim it. God's got my back, it's amazing. They don't know I'm protected, inheriting all of my blessings. They ain't getting the message, trying to fuck up my progression. I'm overcome with depression, then I bounce back cause the truth's my weapon. All of my heart is invested. Sincere Muzic, Cory Resilient. I'm the most hated, forget it. All that I say, I meant it. Always the purest intentions. Been through a lot, no question. Lost my way and I lost my direction. Yeah.